Hi, welcome to another episode of Conversations with Eminent Women. My name is Tshegohaco Moagi. So glad to have you in our company once again this afternoon. It's afternoon in South Africa, but it is morning elsewhere, and I'll give you more details about that shortly. And as you know, we love hearing from you here on Conversations with Eminent Women. So do share your comments, your questions for our guests as well this afternoon. And I'm sure that she will be hella excited to actually answer some of your questions. And I'm speaking about none other than Urmi Hossain. She's joining us all the way from Canada. Hence, I said it's morning elsewhere in this part of the world. Good morning, Urmi, from an afternoon in South Africa. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
Very well, thank you. Cannot complain. I know that it is super early there. What time is it on your side now?
It's 9 a.m.
Okay, and I mean the off record we were speaking about how you had quite the busy week this week. I can just imagine, you being a podcaster, also working in the financial sector, being a gender activist and an author, it can get super busy, but maybe just give us a bit of snippets about your week.
Yes, I am a quite busy woman, as I like to say. There is my 9 to 5 where I have my day-to-day job, and then there is my 5 to 9, which is quite spread out in terms of what I do during the whole week. And I'm the co-chair of an organization called Women in Leadership, and currently we've been quite busy organizing our event for International Women's Day. So that has been taking a lot of my time in organizing it, finding speakers, people, sponsors, and so forth. And besides that, I do also a lot of mentoring. So I do get to have some, one-on-one like mentoring calls with my mentees during the week. And sometimes I'm asked to be basically present in some events for universities. So I am quite busy in terms of that. And then, of course, there is my self-care practice where, I take time to go to the gym, to just disconnect from everything else. That's very important for me for my own, sanity. So yeah, that's how usually is, that's how my week usually is.
Let's speak a little bit about the gym. I mean, I started recently getting back into it, starting to exercise a little bit more. For you, like you say, it helps you with, getting your sanity back and just grounding you somewhat. Is it something that you've always done for quite some time? And how do you think it assists, especially for women, with the busy lifestyles that we have?
Yeah, so I actually started to go to the gym, I would say around maybe when I was in my 20s, so 24, 25. But initially, I did it for the wrong reason. I think I was just going to the gym just because I wanted to, lose weight, even though I didn't need to. But now, when I go to the gym, I go with an intention that I just want to feel good. Like, there isn't an actual goal of like losing anything. It's just that I want to feel good. And I tried different things. Like, I tried yoga, I tried Pilates, I tried hip workouts, I tried boxing, and I had to find the right fit for me, like something that really makes me feel good. And that has been boxing or doing high intensity workouts. And I know maybe like sometimes when women don't find time to do those things, but I think it's important to carve out some time because it's part of our self-love and it's part of our, self-care practice. And I think it's important to find the right thing that works for you because when you find the right thing, you will always have time. You'll always make time for it. You will always make it a priority. And for me, that has been with boxing, with running. It's what I need to basically feel good. And so I have like time blocked on my Google Calendar where this is like non-negotiable. Like the world can end. I don't care. I'm going. I'm hitting the gym. I'm doing my boxing class, and I feel like I found the right thing that makes me feel good.
hmm Let's then speak a little bit about the boxing because I think as a gender activist, it's something that we see, a lot of women getting into now. As a gender activist, we see a lot of women getting into boxing, but we are also seeing a lot, especially I'm not sure about where you are, Umi, where we are seeing a lot of women being violated. There's a lot of gender-based violence cases in South Africa. Is it the same in Canada or even in Italy? I know that you were born in Italy and we'll come to that shortly, but is it the same there? And how do you then also work as as the leader in women in leadership? How do you then work with the women to give them the qualities or, the assistance that they may need to be able to protect themselves at any given point?
Yeah, so you did touch upon like something very important. It's quite common in Italy. It's something that started to happen like quite recently. It's called femicide, if I'm not mistaken. And we're talking about domestic violence, we're talking about women being killed by their partners and so forth. And it wasn't like that when I was leaving, but I feel like it's something that really started to happen like quite recently.
Mm.
And what happened is here in Montreal, you don't hear too many of those stories. I'm pretty sure, although they do happen. However, there is an organization that I volunteer for, and I went to do some speaking engagement, which is called Woman Aware. Um, and there is another one as well called Amal. And basically, what they do, these two organizations, they help women to get out of domestic violence. And so they do like workshop, they do like in-person events and so forth to bring aware that, these things happen. Unfortunately, these things happen, but we don't think they happen. We just see it in the movies. We think that, this it's just not true. You don't think your partner might be hitting you. And so I got involved with some of this organization to be a bit more aware of these things because maybe, they don't happen to me directly, but they might happen like elsewhere. And I think like self-defense is very important for women to take self-defense classes. I think like we don't promote enough of this. Like when we think about, let's say, boxing or Muay Thai, we often think, oh, it's just for men. It's, why would a woman like do something like that? Um, why would she like start fighting? But I think like sometimes boxing is really just to learn how to self defend yourself when you're on the street, when you're in danger. And I think every woman should take time to like understand the basic self defense. And that's why I do boxing. Like I think it's important for me to be an example for other women that, this is not just a sport for men, it's also for women. It's open for every single gender there. And so that's how I try to be an advocate by doing it myself and by talking about it to other people in different platforms that I am part of.
Mhm. We've now spoken about Italy, and I want us then to take a few steps back. You were born in Italy, correct?
That's right.
And so you were born in Italy, but to Bangladeshi parents. Share with us your upbringing and really finding your identity in, a different world, I suppose.
Yes, so I was born in Italy. I was born and raised in Italy, and both of my parents are from Bangladesh. So my parents are immigrants who moved from Bangladesh to start a new life, to have a better future, and so forth. And they have moved to Sicily. So we're talking about the south of Italy. And
Mhm.
they often say, "Oh, Urmi, like you're the first Bengali girl to be born in Italy," because and honestly, I like to believe in that because back then there wasn't a big community. There was not that many Bengali people, and I think my dad was one of the first. And after he came, he started to bring other people along with him, like his brother, like the friends of the brother, like and so forth. And that's how the community was built. And my upbringing was quite interesting because basically, I did not have anyone that looked like me when I was living there, like especially when I was going to school. Everyone was Italian, white people, and then there was me who looked slightly different. I did not have blue eyes. I did not have green eyes. I had like a little bit of olive complexion, dark eyes, dark hair. And I only had Italian friends. So when I was growing up, I felt like I always had to explain myself to my Italian friends because even for them was new to see someone that was different for them. And I often felt like I did not fit the box. That was my experience. I did not feel like I was Italian enough. I did not feel like I was Bengali enough. And, I would be with my Italian friends and I was very self-aware that I did not look like them. But then I would go home and I was also very aware that I did not feel like everyone else at home because even though I look Bengali inside, I felt quite Italian, especially because everyone around me was Italian. And so I lived in between like two worlds, always trying to, find my place. And that was quite a struggle after I moved to Canada because people would ask me, "Oh, where are you from?" And I always struggle in coming up with an answer. Like, do I say I'm Italian? Do I say I'm Bengali? And then no matter what answer I gave, people were questioning my origins, which was kind of bothering for me because I'm like, why are you questioning it? Like, this is my story. I'm telling you who I am. This is my, immigration story and so forth. So it was quite challenging. And then I started to talk about this a bit more. I talked about it, in different podcasts. I wrote it in my book. And then I started to see that there are a lot more people like me. And we are called third culture kids. So these are people who are, brought up in a culture that is completely different than their parents. And finding that community helped me to realize that I'm not alone in this journey. So
Mhm. Why did you move to Canada?
I moved for personal reasons to Canada and then I just stayed here. Yeah.
I also mentioned, Umi, that you are in the financial sector. Was it something that you always wanted to do as a child growing up in Italy?
No, no, it never, never, never crossed my mind. Actually, what happened is when I was living in Italy, I told myself, oh, eventually I will become a tourist guide. I will bring people around the city and show them all the different monuments that we have in Italy. And I thought about that, especially because the program that I was doing in school was about like learning languages and learning multiple languages. And then at some point, I even thought I was going to become a therapist. Like I told myself, this is my path. I'm just going to listen to people's problem and try to solve their problems. And then I moved to Canada, and these two ideas, they just like went out of my head.
Mhm.
And I went to this open house at this university, and I was very much basically drawn to business. But initially, I was in international business. That was my major, and I hated it. I just hated it like from the deep of my heart. And what happened afterwards, finance was my minor. And I took one class and I just fell in love with it. So it's a love story that started back in, I think, 2012 and it never ended. So I love being in finance. I loved my bachelor degree. I pursued a few other designations. I consider myself a proud woman in finance. Like I'm proud of the achievement that I was able to get through the years. And for me, studying finance was quite effortless. Like I just enjoyed it so much because there is a qualitative aspect and there is a quantitative aspect. And sometimes I don't realize this, but when I was in Italy, I used to take like, we had like math classes and we would have a class that was just about how to calculate your present value, future value. There was a finance aspect to it and I would like be quite good at it. But I didn't think, that that was going to be part of my life eventually. So sometimes I look back and think, okay, there was already a sign back in the days that, I was good in maths and maybe that was where I was supposed to be. So yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting indeed. And if you don't mind, maybe just on a day to day, in the 9 to 5 that you have, what is it that you do?
So I work in portfolio management. So basically I work as an associate. So what we do technically is more about, we're investing the money of our clients and we will invest, of course, in the market. And a lot of the clients are high net worths who are basically looking to achieve their financial goals. That could be, retire well, could be, leave money for their kids, could be to have a nice life during their retirement, so travel or maybe do some philanthropic work. And my day to day is quite diverse because I do different things. I'm pretty much doing everything in terms of like marketing. Then there's a financial aspect, and then there's the compliance aspect, and there is administration, there is, uh, checking, analyzing funds and so forth. So it's quite diverse, but it's all related to portfolio management.
Hmm. And so when we then go back, I want to take another step back into Italy. How do you think you are able to blend your cultures? I mean, you speak about the difficulty that you had. You know, you are with Italian people, but you don't look like them. You go home and in the heart, you feel more Italian. How do you think you're able to build, to blend your cultures to get to the point where you are now, where you are proud and you are able to say that you are Italian Bengali?
Yeah, honestly, it took me quite a while to basically get my answer. I think I was never 100% aware that I had to do that kind of work in terms of like finding my identity and blending the two. And so I think the whole process really started when I moved to Canada, and I was like, I have to find an answer to these questions. Like I cannot go around and spend 30 minutes, 45 minutes talking to people and telling them like my life story about who I am and my story. And so what happened is it was after doing a lot of self-reflection and talking to friends that I was able to come up with the answer, which is Italian Bengali. And what happened is I started to analyze my day to day. And so I speak quite often Italian. I speak with my sister in Italian. I speak with some of my relatives in Italian, but at the same time, I also speak Bengali. Then I eat also, Italian food. I love to eat my pasta. I love to eat, my Italian dessert and so forth. But at the same time, um, I also eat Bengali food. And so it was by doing those analysis that I finally came to the answer that the answer was already there. Like I'm embracing those two cultures on my day to day, on my regular basis, like I'm doing a little bit of those things. And I realized that, at the end of the day, I didn't need to choose one. It was just about embracing the good things about each culture. And that's how I was able to come up with my answer. And I didn't also want to say one culture only because I felt like I was betraying the other culture. And I feel like I was not telling 50% of my story, but my story is made of 50% Italy and 50% Bengali. And so for me, it was important that I embrace both of them.
hmm And so that then, I suppose, led you to your book, Urmi, Discovering Your Identity. Like you say, there was quite a bit of work that you had to do yourself to get to discovering your identity. For someone who will want to read your book, or someone who may be going through some kind of identity crisis as we speak today, what would you say to them and how will the book assist?
So my book is pretty much sort of like I would call it more like a biography. Like I'm talking about my childhood, my teenagehood in Italy. But I think for people who are going through like, cultural identity crisis, it could help them to feel that they're not alone in this journey. Like some thoughts that they might have, I think every single person like me goes through that. I think when you are struggling in terms of your identity, it's important to speak about it, but to speak about it with people that you trust and people that understand you and people who are very similar to you in terms of like cultural, like they don't necessarily have to come from the same cultural background, but they do have to have an exposure to multiple backgrounds so they can help you in like guiding you and giving you like, a clearer idea. And I think the importance of community is quite essential. Like finding communities of people similar to you make you feel like you belong to something. Like as often we feel like we did not belong anywhere because of how diverse we are. But when you find people that are exposed to multiple cultural backgrounds, people who, can speak multiple languages, people who have an experience of like growing up in different countries, or maybe their parents come from another country, it makes you like you can share your story safely because these people will understand the things that you're going through. So my suggestion would be to really find communities and to speak with trusted people about some of the thoughts that you're going through.
Mhm. And so you moved to Canada from Italy. How did your parents handle that move?
Uh, well, they just had to accept it, So my parents, they live in the UK right now, so even that they also left Italy. But yeah, they had to accept it. That's it.
Let's speak about how many languages before we move on to the next bit. How many languages do you speak, Urmi?
Now I can proudly say almost five. My almost is my Spanish. I've been taking Spanish classes and I understand it because, of course, Italian helps, but I also took a bunch of classes when I was in university. But I speak English, Bengali, Italian, French, and then, of course, there's the Spanish.
Mhm. So, for someone who will be grabbing your book, Umi, and reading it for the first time, what would you like for them to get out of it? It's called Discovering Your Identity. What would you like for them to get out of it as they try to discover their own identities?
My my message in the book is about basically creating your own box and finding your own belonging. Like we might not feel like we belong to something, but I think it's important that you realize that you belong to yourself. And so my message at the end of the book, and I talk about it also in the book, is that it's all about embracing who we are and accepting who we are. So self-acceptance, self-belonging, and creating your own box. You don't need to, fit a mold.
Mhm.
I feel like we just do enough of it. Yeah.
Did you have any challenges? I know that you are self-published as an author. Did you have any challenges, writing the book, but also, getting published, so to speak, but also getting people to grow into it and actually get the book, purchase the book?
So you're right. I did self-publish it, and to tell the truth, it wasn't really difficult to self-publish it because you're your own publisher and you don't have to go through a third party. And when I have written my book, I basically read another book prior, which is called How to Write a Book in 30 Days. So that was like quite a guide for me. But I kind of had an idea of how to write a book because I have friends who are also self-publishers. And and the difficult part, I would say, of self-publishing is that you are marketing it yourself as well. So I was in charge of promoting it, and when you are self-publishing your own book, you have to do heavy promotion, which is something that I don't think I was good enough, honestly, because it was my first time. I self-published the book and everything, but then I was like, I don't know how to promote it. So what happened is I tried to come up with ways to talk about it. So I would go to podcasts and talk about my book. I would share the link to all of my friends and be like, please read it, leave a review. And then there are some organizations that I was affiliated with that who I would tell them if they could talk about my book in a post, Instagram post. And so that's how I started to promote it. But I have to say that promotion is quite difficult when you are still publishing your own book. So it's something that I had to learn along the way.
Mhm. What about the book do you think has brought you a sense of peace or joy?
Both. And I think also a sense of accomplishment. I think like not everyone can go around and says that they've published a book. So the fact that I did it, it's my own accomplishment.
Absolutely. Let's then shift gears a little bit, Umi. We've spoken about the book. For those who want the book, if you're tuning into Conversations with Eminent Women, it is Discovering Your Identity. We are in conversation with Italian-Bengali podcaster, gender activist, and author, self-published author Urmi Hossain. She's all the way in Canada today, and that's actually where she lives. Born in Italy and raised by Bangladeshi parents. Umi, of course, speaks about discovering her identity in her book. Let's then move over to you being a gender activist. Why is this kind of work important for you, Umi?
It's important because it comes from my own personal experience and how I've seen South Asian women treated in the culture. I think the problem is that in the South Asian culture, women are often seen as a financial burden. Often they're neglected. Often they're, left outside. If in a family of four people, let's say there is a brother and a sister, like the brother will get education, he'll be sent abroad to study, whereas the girl will be everyone will be thinking about, okay, who's gonna take care of her when she gets older, who's gonna get married to her. And often we're not given enough investment. Like women do not receive enough education because they think, eventually she will have to get married. And women are often in every single culture, I would say, women are thought of staying in the kitchen, staying at home, and so forth. Like, I'm not saying it's wrong, but I think we should be given equal opportunities. And because of that, I decided that we need to change that. And I remember thinking also that even myself, like when I was growing up, I was always told that I was not allowed to go out, that girls are not allowed to, stay, go and stay at their friend's place. They're not allowed to do this and that. But then I'm thinking, if I was a boy, I was probably not going to get the same treatment. I know
Mm.
that. I'm quite aware of it. And so because of that, I was like, we have to change that. We have to receive the same kind of treatment. We have the same rights as, our brothers and so forth. So that's why I decided to become an vocal about it. I decided to join organizations that, support women's empowerment, that are all about equality. And so that's why I joined it because of how I've seen it in the South Asian culture. But this is applicable in other cultures as well. It's not just mine.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, that even though you're born in Italy, born and raised in Italy, your parents still stuck to, certain
Yeah.
cultures that they how
Yeah.
do you think that may have shaped also, your own upbringing?
You're right. My parents they really held to their traditions and to their cultures and so forth. And it was quite hard because at home, like maybe outside, I was, being an Italian girl, but at home, I had to be the traditional Bengali girl, the traditional daughter, and so forth. And it was quite hard because I feel like, again, I was living in between two worlds, and maybe I wanted to live freely, like every single, friends of mine who were probably, going out, having sleepovers with other girlfriends and so forth, whereas I was not allowed to do that. And I feel like with time, I realized that this was wrong. Like, it's not right that I was not given, it wasn't right for me to have so many limitations around me because it did shape me thinking that I'm just not allowed to do anything. I cannot do anything. I'm not good for anything. Like, that's how I grew up. I grew up with a very limited belief of what I could do. And I think with time I realized that it was important for me to unlearn that and to tell myself that I am allowed to achieve anything that I want. I'm allowed to chase my dreams, I'm allowed to dream big. So it did shape me to think otherwise, and it shaped me to think of the possibilities, the endless possibilities of things that I can do. Yeah.
Mhm. How do you think you will change things still as a gender activist, should you decide that you actually would like to be a mom? Do you think you will, change your the way that you were brought up and your parents' train of thought and do things differently?
I mean, I'm probably gonna do things differently. I already do it with like younger people. I am a mentor and I do it with young girls in their 20s. I typically, teach them about the things that are important for them. I tell them that, just because you're a girl, it doesn't mean that you cannot do certain things. I want them to be ambitious. I want them to be bold. I want them to dream big. And that's what I do with my mentoring work. Like, I talk a lot about confidence. I talk a lot about, self-improvement. I talk a lot about self-belief and self-trust. And I think it's important to teach those things when they are young. So yeah, I do a lot of advocacy when it comes to mentoring.
Mhm. This personal growth journey that you've taken, Umi, what do you think it has done for you and the relationships that you now have, with friends, even with your parents and your family?
So self-growth is quite important for me because it's something that I had to learn again, like along the way. I think we should see ourselves as our biggest investment, and it doesn't have to be like financial wise. It's in a non-monetary way, meaning that it's important to take time to study. It's important to to read books, to listen to podcasts. It's important to like explore different things. I think that, when you are born in a very traditional family, they always teach you like this is the conventional way, this is the path that you're supposed to be taking on. But I think it's okay to do something that is different. And I think it's important to explore your hobbies, your passions. And that's why when it comes to self-growth and self-development, I always say like take time to explore different things and do different hobbies and explore different pathways. And that's how you will grow. That's how you will learn who you are as a person. And you will also learn what you don't like. And so I
And
always talk about these things. Yes, go ahead.
no, you can continue your thought.
No, 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 go ahead.
I think improved your relationship with your parents, especially because of how you've now described, the two worlds somewhat that you lived in.
My relationship was never bad. So it was never bad. I just did things my own way and I put boundaries, but it was never bad. So like my relationship with people was always quite positive. I just, you let go of people through time because, paths are not aligned, maybe not the same values, but with, crucial people, relationship have always been good.
Yeah. You speak about boundaries, and I'm glad that you speak to that because I actually wanted us to start there with, or to move there now. With the busyness of your life, Umi, and how, your day is shaped out, like we spoke about, how have you been able to create those boundaries and stick to them?
It took me a while to put boundaries because I wasn't quite sure what boundaries were, and we're not taught about boundaries when we are young. Like we're conditioned to basically, I mean, we're taught to say yes to everything. Our time is everyone's time, and so forth. And I had to read books about boundaries, about putting healthy boundaries, and I also had to read podcasts about boundaries. And that's how I realized that it's okay to put yourself first. It's okay to prioritize yourself first, and it doesn't come from a place of like being selfish. I think that if some things are not aligned with other people's goals, it's okay to like do your own thing. And so I started to put boundaries, healthy boundaries, by saying no, by seeing if something was aligned with me. Like let's say I'm invited to an event, but I feel like, that event will not bring me any value. It's okay to just say no. But I think, it's never enough to say no. It's important to reinforce them afterwards. Because as soon as you know, maybe as soon as you let some people in, what's going to happen is that you will have to, it's going to be much harder to put back the boundaries. So it's always important to reinforce boundaries. And it's something that you're going to grow into doing better and better with time because at the beginning it's uncomfortable, but then you become an expert to it and you don't feel bad about how people are feeling afterwards. Yeah.
Let's talk about women in leadership. How did you become part of that organization?
So I was looking for an organization that was quite aligned with my values, and I wanted to do something where I was giving back. So I joined Women Leadership in 2021 maybe or 2022. I don't remember the exact date, but I used to be part of a different chapter. So the organization itself, it's quite big. It's been there for 25 years. This year we're celebrating 25 years. And what happened is I was part of a different chapter. So you have the organization based in Canada, and each city has its own chapter. So Montreal has one, Ottawa has one, Quebec has one. Each city has a chapter, and I used to be part of a different chapter, the Victoria chapter, as a social media person. But then they had an opening for the Montreal chapter, so I was like, you know what, I want to do something locally. So that's how I shifted into a different role, which is the co-chair. And I believe in their values. I believe in what they're doing, which is really to help the women to feel empowered, to become the leaders that they're meant to be, and to find balance as well between their work and their life. And so I joined the organization and I truly believe in what they're doing, and I'm quite proud of the work that we're doing. Like I'm very excited about the events that we have planned for the year. We want to bring women together for events. We want them to connect with each other because one thing that we realize is that when you have, a room full of women, like there is a different power and vibe. I'm not sure how to explain that, but it's just beautiful how that connection is just It's just different. And so that's the goal. Like we want to bring more women together. We want them to, share their stories. We want them to connect. We want them to learn from one another. And Women in Leadership does a lot. Like we do have like webinars about confidence, imposter syndrome. We have, webinars about public speaking, how to promote yourself. We have workshop. We have in-person networking events. So we do a lot of different great things.
hmm Have you ever found, Umi, that sometimes some of the women that you are hoping would pull you with them will actually, or pull you with them and take you on a journey with them, that those are some of the women that actually will pull you down? Or have you actually had a friend or even a colleague that has pulled you down? And does it ever leave you shocked that women can be so cruel to each other?
You know what? I think back in the days, yes, probably, there is always a little bit of jealousy, I feel like, between women, but luckily for me, never happened. I maybe, as soon as I would like, I would say get the red flag about someone, it was me taking that step back where I was like, I can see that this person is not happy with the things that I'm achieving. It's better that I like step away from, like, it's better that we cut the relationship there. Like it happened that I had a very close friend of mine who I think she was never supportive of the work that I was doing, and she never liked that I was able to get a lot of things done, and she never really encouraged me or supported me. And I could see how she started to unfollow me, and I was like, you know what? That's okay. I'm just gonna walk away, and it's a relationship that I didn't take forward in my life. But I, like me as a person, I know the kind of person that I am. Like I know what I want around me. Like I need people that are willing to support me and who are willing to see my growth. And I do the same thing for other people. Like I think as a woman, we need to like support other women, like we need to advocate for them. And that's what I believe in. And that's what I do for the women around me. Like I advocate for the work. I believe in them. I believe in what they can do. And I want other people to do the same thing. So I think I'm like good at like flagging, the bad apple. So.
I think that's a very great trait that you have, Umi, to be able to see the red as soon as possible. We are in conversation today on Conversations with Eminent Women with Italian-Bengali podcaster, gender activist. She's a mentor. She's an author as well, self-published. And we are just speaking about the kind of work that she's doing. And she's based in Montreal in Canada. So, Umi, for a woman who will be attending or wants to attend a Women in Leadership event or a webinar, what do you want them to keep in mind? And should we have an open mind about the events, but also what should we take away as we end the event?
So here's the thing, women in leadership, they do have a lot of like online events. And so if people can just go to our website, Women in Leadership Foundation Canada, they can join all those like events, which are open literally like to everyone. And I think for anyone who wants to, be part of women in leadership and wants to learn a little bit about the work that we do, it's important to go with a lot of curiosity. I think, you have to be like open-minded and you have to be willing to learn from it. Sometimes you do not know what you're gonna find out, but I think if you go with the mind of curiosity and you're willing to learn and you're willing to, intentionally learn from other people, you will get a lot from it. So I always say the more you give, the more you get out of something.
Mhm. Do remember Conversations with Eminent Women family that, would love to hear from you as well. Questions, comments that you may have for Umi, do share those with us, and I'm sure she's willing to answer some of those indeed. So, Umi, let's then move over to you being a podcaster. How did that come about? Stories Beyond Borders. It sounds like such a lovely podcast. I did watch a few episodes, and wow, truly, truly inspiring. Just talk to us how that podcast came about.
Yes, so I created a podcast literally in August of last year. And what happened is I was already being invited to many podcasts where I was sharing my story of being a third culture kid, my story of like growing up in Italy from Bangladeshi parents. And I told myself, okay, that's enough of it. I'm just gonna go and create a platform for other people. And I decided to create Stories Beyond Borders. I'm very passionate when it comes to immigration. I'm very passionate when it comes to, learning from other people's stories. And I think stories are what keep us connected, and it's what helps us to really learn from one another. And so I created this podcast where I invite people who are biracial, I invite people who are, multicultural, I invite third culture kids, and I just love to hear their stories. And I created that platform because I wanted them to have a place, or a platform where they could tell their stories. And I think stories are really important to be said. And so we talk a lot about immigration, and it's incredible to see some of the stories that I have heard from some of the guests.
hmm And so, what are some of the stories that have really touched you? And especially when we speak about immigration, it's such a big thing the world over.
Yeah.
The immigration story. What are some of the ones that have touched you really or have remained really close to your heart, especially as people speak about maybe some of the challenges that they may face when they go into a different country?
Yeah, I would say what really stayed with me is the fact that we're so similar in terms of like immigration stories. Like some people move from their home country because of, let's say, there is a war that is happening in their home place, and they can no longer stay there for safety reasons, so they're just moving away and building a new life. And some other stories are very similar to mine. Like last week, I spoke with the director who is from India, and she told me why she has moved to Canada, and she was telling me how her experience was by moving to Canada. And it was very interesting to see how similar it was to mine. Like she came in Montreal, I think, back in the 70s, and she was talking about her experience going to school, how she was the only person who was from India. And I told her like this is my story. Like I went to a school where, everyone was Italian, and I was the only one who was non-Italian. And so it was really nice to see how, similar these stories are. Like maybe we're talking about different times and so forth, but no matter like what year we're talking about, all the stories are very similar. So I would say that every single story has really taught me something through these conversations.
hmm And like you say, there's a lot of similarities, and we've seen it as well in South Africa, Umi, where people that are immigrants, they come into the country, and some of them are not treated well, I suppose, because some of them are also illegal immigrants that come into the country, and there's a lot of unhappiness when it comes to that kind of thing. Is it something that you've also experienced in the conversations that you have had? How
No,
the illegal immigrants specifically are treated?
no, no, not yet. I haven't found someone with that profile. No.
Okay. All right. And what are you hoping to achieve with Stories Beyond Borders in the long run? I mean, you started in August, you still have a year to go, or a few more months to clock in that year. What are you hoping to achieve with your podcast?
More awareness. More
Uh-huh.
an awareness with the storytelling. I think stories are quite powerful, and it's important to hear from people's experiences why they're leaving their home country, and why it's important that we promote immigration. It's good for the economy of a country. It's good for the person who's moving. They're trying to build a better future. So it like immigration is something very passionate to me, and I just want to bring more awareness to into people's lives.
hmm And let's then speak also about, your work as a mentor. You've touched a little bit on it and the kind of work that you do with the young people, Umi. For you to be a mentor, like we said, at the beginning of our podcast, that you had to discover yourself quite extensively. Would you
Mhm.
maybe share with us the reaction that you get, from the young people as you speak to them and as you mentor them on how to be better people in life and better women?
Yeah, I mentor typically women or younger women, and I very much enjoy mentoring because I like to see it as a two-way street. I don't think mentoring is one way. Like you learn from your mentees as well. And a lot of the times if they're younger mentees, I feel like you learn a lot about other things that you probably wouldn't think of. And I think the mentorship is not about titles, it's about lived experiences. And I got really positive feedback through mentoring. Like I didn't think that I was going to make such a big impact, but I had few mentors who were quite happy to get some of my advice, get some of my tips on how to, navigate, your career or how to navigate, let's say you're transitioning into a new job, or maybe you're looking for a new job, or people who want to study finance. And it's interesting to see how some of these conversations evolve, and it's also nice to see how the mentees are willing to put the time and effort to develop themselves. Like I have one mentee right now who basically wants to do everything, and I'm like, let's just focus on one thing at the time. And it's all about also sharing resources and learning from each other. So for me, like mentoring has been quite instrumental, like in my personal growth as well, because I think mentoring is also about connections, about learning from one and another. And you're giving back. Honestly, you're giving back. You are giving back by, helping another person. And I don't think people realize, but being a mentor means also being a great leader, like you're taking that step to be a better person, to change, the life of someone, or to change also the next generation. So I think that mentorship is all also about leadership. So
Hmm. Was there someone that was a mentor to you, Umi?
I have I had quite a lot of mentors, but I had some mentors who were not officially my mentors, but these were people that I really look up to. And I always talk about my previous managers. There was this particular manager, she was a female manager who had my same educational background, and I really look up to her. I felt she was super charismatic. She was eloquent when she was speaking. You just wanted to like listen to her, like, and never get tired of listening to her. So I remember she was a great mentor for me, and I would go to her for like advice and tips and guidance. And but she doesn't know that like for me she was a mentor, but she doesn't know that. Like she just unofficially was my mentor basically.
Mhm. You, of course, then with the book, and we're just going to take then a step back into that, discovering your identity speaks about self-love, getting to
Hmm.
love yourself as well. And that's the journey as well that you had to take. When you looked in the mirror, Umi, how did you get to the point where you love yourself and you say, this is who you are, and you actually love where you come from and the background and your upbringing?
Yeah, I think it just came natural with time, and probably me getting, in my 30s. I think when you reach a certain age, I feel like you accept yourself for who you are, and you just love yourself for who you are. And I think for me is really, seeing my imperfections as my perfections, and, you know, looking at myself. When I think about my cultural identity, I think of me like I'm lucky to have too many like cultural exposures. Like I feel like I could be a conversation starter. I feel like people are interested in my story. And so that's how I started to appreciate a bit more about my upbringing, my origins, and seeing myself as an asset and as a source of strength. And so for me, like I don't know, I just love being me. So
When we speak, and from the conversation that we've had the past couple of minutes, you sound like a person that is able to wear her heart on her sleeve, of one, but also you're able to be quite vulnerable. That vulnerability, do you ever see it as a source of strength or weakness?
no, I see it as a source of strength. I see it how other people do it. I think that when you see someone vulnerable, you are automatically connected to them. You connect to them very easily, and I think being vulnerable, it's quite powerful, and I do think it's a source of strength.
Absolutely. What makes you happy, Umi?
I guess doing the things that I do. Yeah, being ambitious.
The question here about, your online presence. If you can just pop that question up, please. Once again, your online presence is very strong and put together. How intentional have you been about building that?
You know what? It all started with no intention.
Oh,
Like, yeah, it all started with no intention. I think I just had one goal in back in the days we're talking about, probably like during 2020 or 2021, what I gave myself this goal, which was I want to be a guest on a podcast. That was the goal I had. Like it was, I think, one of my, goals for 2021 or 2020. And then I don't know what happened from there, like the door just opened to all these like opportunities, and I didn't realize that I built a strong online presence. Like when I look back, I'm like, damn, I really did build something. And I think with time, I understood what I wanted to talk about and how I wanted to be, present online. Like it wasn't just random afterwards. Like at the beginning, it was like not with no intention, but afterwards, I was quite intentional about the stories I wanted to talk about, the message I wanted to spread, which is, women's empowerment, equality, self-improvement, self-development. And from that, I think it just opened to some amazing opportunities that I never thought I was going to like get. So yeah.
Absolutely. And it's very great that you are able to be that intentional, Umi,
Yeah.
with your online presence. And before I move on to the next question, I want to then find out, from my end at least, that presence that you have online. You say it was not intentional indeed, but now that you then decided for it to be intentional, what is the kind of messaging that you then share with the young people about online presence and what we put out there? Because
Yeah.
it's there forever.
Yeah, just to be careful about not putting everything about your life, but again, to basically be professional, but also being yourself. I think the two things are go hand in hand, meaning that, we don't want to conform to something and we don't want to be like the next influencer, but whatever message you're trying to put, always make sure that it's like aligned with your values and with who you are as a person. And to be always like within boundaries, but also being professional about the things that you're talking about. So that's how I do it, and that's how I tell other people to do it. Just don't go around and like talk about everything that happens in your life. Like even yesterday, one of my mentees messaged me, and she was like, "I want to talk about these things on LinkedIn." I was like, "No, you shouldn't, because it just puts in a bad spot and it just puts in a very bad light." So just always be careful about the things that you want to talk about, because it's going to be part of your personal brand and your identity. So be careful, and you don't need to talk about everything. You can always be professional about the things that you're talking about.
Absolutely. If you could choose, Umi, between living in Canada and Italy, which of the two would you choose
Now,
and live there like?
you can't ask me this question. You can't. You know what? There are good. There is the good and the bad for each country. Like I think Canada is quite cold, like really cold.
Mhm.
But there are, I feel like in Canada, like you can do a lot of things, and Canada appreciates, the hard work that one person does. Whereas in Italy, yes, life is great in the sense that if you have a lot of money and if you have a good job, you can really live well, but it's quite hard to find a job. And I know a lot of people who have moved from Italy, a lot of young people, they left Italy because in terms of economy, it's quite hard. It's quite
Mhm.
hard. It's nice to visit Italy as a visitor. Yeah,
Okay. What's your favorite food?
it's pasta.
Of course. Being in Italy for that long. Let's just ask this question. What is the real cost women pay when they choose to speak out, Umi, and is it worth it?
It is worth it. It is worth it, and it is worth it. And I think there is a cost when you are not speaking up.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm. What is
yeah.
next for Umi Hossain?
What is next? I would say I want to deliver a TEDx eventually. I want to speak on a big conference. That's my big, 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 big goal. And of course, I want to write a second book, and I want to continue doing the work that I do right now with women in leadership.
Mhm. As a career-driven woman, how do you think you've been able to balance everything?
Time blocking.
Ah,
Yeah,
as easy as that.
yeah, time
Okay,
blocking.
okay. And so, just a quick one from Nyakalo. She's asking, how would you advise a young woman to look for a mentor suitable for them?
And I would say to basically look for organizations that have mentorship program. and to sign up to one of those mentorship programs, because usually what they make you do is that they make you complete a questionnaire, and based on the answers that you have given, they put you together with the potential match based on your interests, based on your values, based on your educational background, and that's how you can find a good mentor. So typically, like organization, like third party, really help you to find a suitable mentor for you based on what you have put in the questionnaire.
Mhm. Well, Umi, we look forward to the TED Talk and you being on those very big platforms. Truly appreciate your time
Thank you.
today. But, just a last word for the young people, the young women that will be able to watch this, and what would you like for them to take away from your life, really?
To build self-trust. Yeah.
Build self-trust. Absolutely love that. Thank you for your time, Umi. Truly appreciate it. I hope you'll be able to get back into bed and be warm. It's extremely hot in South Africa, but thank you so much for your time and all the best for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is Urmi Hossain. She, of course, is a Italian-Bengali podcaster, gender activist, mentor, and self-published author, speaking to us from Canada this afternoon, morning for her where she is. Remember to like and to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Conversations with Eminent Women. From myself, Tshegohaco Moagi, and the whole team, remember to be kind and to protect your peace. Bye-bye.